Excuse me, I'm next in line. Move. Excuse me, I'm next in line. Watch out. Excuse me, I'm next in line. I said move. Excuse me, I'm next in line.
Alright. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Will's Review. I'm your host, Will D. And we're going to start off with some sports news. So, let's start off with the NFL. It's the Pro Bowl. No one cares. No one cares. This is probably the worst All-Star game of all All-Star games, that when the announcers start talking about like how good someone is based on the number of times they were voted to go into the Pro Bowl, it's not an impressive stat. This just kind of makes people mad. They have to wait an extra week for the Super Bowl. But that's how unpopular it was. They used to play it after the Super Bowl, and when they realized no one was watching, they figured, hey, if we make you desperate enough to watch football on a Sunday, you'll watch our one really bad game. I watched it for all of like 5 seconds of the pregame show, walked in on it playing on a TV, and saw, like, the first thing I saw was that they had to make 3 special rules for the Pro Bowl, and just walked right away from wherever this was playing at. Like, it was like, nah, I'm not dealing with this bull crap. Terrible, terrible game. Terrible. As Trump would say, it's a travesty. Just terrible game. But the Super Bowl is next Sunday. It is probably the happiest that all Bloods across America have been since both teams are red, competing for the trophy. So I'm calling this the Blood Bowl. And hopefully there are hard hits that make this both true and funny. Following this up, we have the NHL. Nothing there for New York teams have changed. Islanders are third in the division. Rangers and Devils are last, with the Rangers being slightly better than the Devils. In NBA news, the Nets are still in 8th. But here's a fun story. The Knicks are now 13th. I know. You're like, really? That's worth noting? But it is. In 1 week, they've gone from the 14th place to the 13th place, just before the All-Star break. Who knows? They may even get to 10th by the end of the season. Small successes, people. When you're a Knicks fan, it's about the small successes. Just not being last. Now, there are 2 teams that are worse than us. I'll take it. It's a small win, but I'll take it. Also, in sad news, at the age of 41, Kobe Bryant is dead. That is official, confirmed. Him and 4 others besides the pilot passed away in a helicopter accident. Now, Kobe Bryant is arguably in the top 10 players of all time. Some would argue in the top 5, and some would even call him the GOAT. That I would argue, and I honestly believe Kobe would himself, because he was trying to emulate Michael Jordan, the actual GOAT. Now, Kobe will forever go down in history with me for literally winning a championship while having the fluids drained from his knees every night. This was the 2010 championship that they beat the Celtics. This man was a hard player, hard worker, very intelligent. Recently, started a company that's on the stock exchange, multimillionaire, has 4 daughters, and unfortunately the youngest one not even really going to get a chance to know her father. She's 9 months old. It's a really sad thing. But he's been riding in a helicopter like every day to just get to practice and whatever for over 10 years. Very common occurrence, but bro, it was foggy. It's California, which we all know. Like, California is literally burning itself to the ground almost daily now and consistently shaking, separating itself from the rest of America. I don't know why the pilot allowed it, why he would want to do this and bring people up into the sky in bad weather, but a lot of things weren't left, and unlike a plane, a helicopter crash is pretty much guaranteed explosion, and it exploded. There was fire. Nobody survived, fortunately. The 4 people, because they said Kobe and 4 others, it's not his family, folks. It's not them. They will, have to deal with this unfortunate loss. But it's a sad loss for the NBA. It's a sad loss for the families. It's a sad loss for a lot of us because Kobe truly was one of the brightest minds, especially from the athletic world. And in all honesty, I gotta say this, he's one of the best of us as far as black folks. So, it's sad for us to lose an idol, but they say that the greatest of us usually die young. And I mean, though this is one hell of a way to go, he was one of the greatest. I mean, put it to you this way: Kobe was so great, he pulled an OJ. Think about that one. But he'll be missed by those of us who are fans, those of us who love to argue who are the best of all time. He'll be missed by his family, former athletes, and others who he mentored in and outside the world of sports. So, rest in peace to Kobe. Condolences to his family. And this is just a really, really shocking thing to find out on a random Sunday to start off, 2020. Really, that's just, wow. But the last sport in New York is baseball. So a couple of things there. It's one of the few times it's worth mentioning off-season. But the Mets, with their back and forth with Carlos Beltran, things did not work out, which is really unfortunate because that dude really held down that team for years. I'm not even a Mets fan. I'm mad about it. But they pick up a guy named Luis Rojas because spring training is about to start, and they really need someone desperately. And everyone's just like, who's Luis Rojas? So that's unfortunate. But because I saved this one for last because I don't want to end on a bad note before a commercial break. So the best thing in baseball right now is that Derek Jeter is getting into the Hall of Fame. It's probably the highlight of sports this week. We are talking about another one who is the best of us. We are talking about someone who conducts himself on and off the field with true grace and class. We're talking about someone who was top tier of his sports. I think for me, his greatest highlight was first pitch of the World Series, hitting it for a home run. Like, if that doesn't tell you this team is going to win it, what does, He's part of the reason I grew up a really big Yankees fan and still am a really big Yankees fan. And I don't know who the one a-hole is that didn't vote for him. He didn't get a unanimous Mariano Rivera, which, honestly, a lot of baseball fans find very controversial considering Jeter to Mariano. Jeter definitely way more clutch, despite Mariano being the closer that everybody talks about. But you know what? Screw that guy. Jeter got in, and he did it almost as soon as you can do it. When you retire from a sport, knowing that some people come back from retirement, there's like a little delay period. But pretty much as soon as Jeter could get in, he did get in. One of the best Yankees of all time, one of the best baseball players of all time, one of the best people of all time, if you ask me. So congrats to him and his family, and well-deserved. Shout out to the BX. We got another one in there. And on that note, we are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, wrestling time.
I know it's hard, but don't worry. All I wanna do is fall in love with you. They can take you on a joyride. I just wanna fall. We can keep it going all night. I just wanna fall in love with just until the morning. Oh, I hope this will never end. Here we go. I've been waiting by so we can take it all. So we can go all the way. Just worry about you and me. Let's keep running like the lights are running. Let's keep going till the cars don't need. Only joyride, joyride, oh night, joyride, oh night, joyride, joyride, oh night, oh night, joyride, 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 joyride. Cause I'm on a roll, you want me to take control. Don't worry, I'm headed home. I need you to trust me more. Just put on these blindfolds and let me lead you on through. I know it's hard, but don't worry. All I wanna do is fall in love with you. Is fall in love with you. Take a ride on this joyride, on this joyride. Take a ride on this joyride, on this joyride. So come and ride with me till these wheels burn off. Don't be scared, shorty, cause I got you on. So come and ride with me, come and ride with me, come and ride. Come on this joyride, joyride, all night. Joyride, all night. Joyride, joyride, all night. We're together now, don't hesitate. All I wanna do is go to mad with you. Let's go to mad, let's go to mad. We're going to mad.
So, this is a major wrestling weekend. This is the beginning to the road to WrestleMania, right? Like that's the whole Royal Rumble thing. So this week they're in Houston. They are blowing up Texas. But last night was really the night I'm excited for. I tell you, every time I know NXT is going to do their thing, I'm way more excited than what the rest of the main roster, or I guess now they're all main roster, but you know, Raw and SmackDown, I can give two craps what they're doing that weekend. So last night, they tried something out for the first time, and they mixed NXT with their UK NXT in Worlds Collide. So Worlds Collide the last few years have been a multi-branded event with wrestlers competing, usually against their own brand. They may have a couple of cross matches, but it's not even always about major titles or rivalries and stuff like that. It's just kind of like, hey, you want to see this person and that person? Maybe we can get this together finally because it's a special night. Same thing when they try to bring back Starrcade recently, and you're just like, why? But whatever, just do it because pay-per-views make us look good. But last night they went for it, and I can say I was pleasantly surprised by how this went. Mostly because I think NXT UK, as much as it's wrestling, it's also culturally different. It's a different style of wrestling. Whenever you go to a different country, or even here in the U.S., when you go to a different state, fans want something different, right? You have your high flyers, you have your big men, you have more of a grappling style, and they're different fans in different areas and want different things. So what these UK wrestlers bring to the U.S. audience, a lot of the times it may not actually translate well. So I was a little nervous about how they'd be received, especially in Texas of all places, because one, it's freaking Texas, so foreigners of any sort, white, black, whatever, if you're not from Texas, you don't belong. Two, it's known as like a wrestling haven and a wrestling heaven because of all the small leagues that, came from that area, a lot of the wrestlers that have come there from that area. Some of our top guys from the Attitude Area, all of them from Texas. They all grew up watching some of the greats of all time, that sort of thing. Because Texas and that region, Oklahoma and Alabama and all that stuff, a lot of the homegrown guys, a lot of the best guys come from that area. So, these guys from England doing their English thing, having their gimmicks and their styles and stuff like that, is very risky. But it turned out to be a really good event. So they opened up with a pre-match with Mia Yim versus Kaylee Ray. So Mia Yim is the Blasian baddie, the HBIC She has a lot of attitude, comes with a golden background from various other leagues, but has yet to win a major title here. Her boyfriend has. He just won his recently, Keith Lee, if you didn't know. Getting some of that yim. But yeah, so she comes with a lot of credential. Even in her tenure on NXT, she's one of the top tier of the women's division. Kaylee Ray legit is the best of the best in the UK right now. She's the champion. So they had their match, and Kaylee Ray won. She had to cheat for it, but the back and forth of this match wasn't that great, and I think because of it, I wasn't too thrilled. This really definitely deserved to be the pre-show for the rest of what was coming that night. And I think the issue is that Kaylee Ray isn't that great of a wrestler. I think we were talking about that when I talked about the Blackpool event. She can perform in the ring. She's a solid wrestler, but compared to Mia Yim, not as entertaining in the ring. Everything about her performance is very kind of, basic. The fact that she's an opportunist is why she's a champion. And that's how she won this match. So it was all fitting. I can't really complain too much about it, but this match is only a 3 out of 5. Now, when you get to the main event, you start off with, Ilya Dragunov versus Finn Balor. This match did not make sense to me in my head. Why is this even a thing, considering how vastly, irrelevant the two of them should be to each other? Until I realized, oh yeah, they both walk in with leather coats. Charles laughing in the background because he knows it's true. It really, and I'm telling you, as Ilya's walking into his leather coat, I'm like, oh, they made them fight because of the leather coats. That was all any relation between the two of these guys would ever have. But the match was really good. And I have to say that considering that I feel like Dragunov has a very limited moveset that revolves solely around a perfectly timed headbutt. Balor, it's always about the stomp, the double stomp of some way, shape, or form. So, Balor, though, is a vet. He can work with anybody. Dragunov is very entertaining. He has a very strong personality. I think he has better personality than he does actual wrestling. And these two made a great match. It was really good. It turned out to be very entertaining. The ending was great. 4 out of 5. Then we had... Now, this is the match that I think surprised me the most. Mostly because who thinks the cruiserweights could steal the show like that in these times? Now that they're high flyers in the heavyweight division. But no. These 4 guys, honestly, except for the last match, this probably is the best match of the night. And it is Angel Garza with Devlin against Swerve Scott against Banks. It's a 4-way match for the title. There's only one thing about this match I don't like, and it's literally the fact that the title changes hands. Angel Garza deserved more than one PPV. He had a 1-month reign. And most of it, they were on vacation because of the holidays. Oh, don't tell me it was okay because he won it so he could propose to his girlfriend for Christmas. Bullcrap. Bro, he's a much better wrestler. His build-up as a bad guy to a champion was really good. He took some good bumps. He got a lot of big wins. I think it was the right person to even take it away from, Lio Rush. But I hate that he lost it. Now, I'm not mad at who he lost it to. I feel like Devlin is a great wrestler. I feel like because there isn't an extra title in the UK yet, they don't have their 4th title yet, it's a perfect chance for him to get the opportunity to shine. I feel like he's taken a lot of heavy bumps at pivotal moments in his career that I feel keep him from being top dog over there. And I think going the cruiserweight route now, giving him some bragging rights to keep up his, I'm one of the best of all time kind of personas, I think is a great move. And I think it's great to bridge the UK NXT branches into the cruiserweight because that roster was really small. And there are a lot of smaller wrestlers in the UK division that I think that this could make things interesting on 205 Live. So, all in all, a great move. I get why they did it, but just not during Garza's reign. Or at least give him until Mania to lose it. You know what I'm saying? A little something, something. All in all, though, this match was incredible. A lot of great moments. Isaiah Swerve Scott needs to be the next Cruiserweight champion, period. Angel Garza, if he wants to get his revenge and him and Devlin get into a rivalry, I would love that. These both guys are bad guys. They're both, they charm ladies with their dimples. Both very arrogant. Like, I would love the back and forth between them. And even this guy Banks, right, comes out of nowhere, essentially. Wins his match earlier this week, I think on 205, if I'm not mistaken. We don't know too much about him. He has a legit past, but as far as WWE, we don't know much about him. And he has a very brute style. He's the only one in the match that ruined the rhythm of this fight, and it still worked. Like, they found a way to work around the fact that he's such, like, a hard striking, strong style wrestler. Incredible match. But I just didn't want Garza to lose. I gotta give this a 4.5. 4.5 out of 5 is a near perfect score. If Garza retained the title by the end of this match, perfect score. Then we also had, now this is when they say something's a dream match, I believe it. They pretty much took everybody's favorite NXT tag team of all time in DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, definitely being the bad guy out of the four of them here, and I think it worked very well because when he needed to, him and Gargano got on that bad guy wave that they both have. They have that duality to their characters now because of Tommaso Ciampa going rogue at one point in their relationship. Versus Mustache Mountain, who are the top, I guess they're the heart and soul of the NXT UK, right? These guys literally represent what the fandom wants over there. That's why these guys hardly ever lose, because no one wants to see them lose in the UK. But Trent Seven, for the second time, put on a very good performance. Once you get past all the back and forth that happens when you good guys fight each other, when you have to be like, oh, we're both really good wrestlers. Yeah, once you get past all that and his little mustache little game, you actually got to the fighting. Excellent job. This match is a 4.5 out of 5. The only thing about it that's not as great as the Cruiserweight match was a lot of the back and forth stuff that happened at the beginning, because in trying to time it out with all the near misses, there are a lot of missteps. But once they actually got into the carnage of the match, really great back and forth. I honestly thought that DIY would lose. They pull out a win. It was incredible. You had the most disappointing match of the night was Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. Both great wrestlers, a lot of drama, a lot of baggage. I really expected more. The match seemed to end really quickly. No real major highlights. The Riptide came out of nowhere. And honestly, it was one of those Riptides where it seems like she just kind of wanted to get it over with instead of like really picking up her opponent and slamming her down with the KO. Like, I don't know. Toni Storm also got off stage really quick. I don't know if anybody got hurt or if anybody was ill or something like that, but this match is disappointing. This was a 3 out of 5. I think this is a 3 out of 5. But the match, top tier, I have no problems with this match. 5 out of 5. Undisputed Era versus Imperium. I'm not even going to lie. I was definitely rooting for Undisputed Era because I don't really like Imperium. I feel like most of the time when they wrestle in the UK, they're kind of boring to watch. As a group, but last night, Eichner was showing some great moves. Walter was taking names left and right. Even when Alexander Wolf got injured, the fact that he got injured in that match, it reminds you how real this is. Like, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not telling you that, it's not, set up to go a certain way. It's not scripted. But every time these people step in the ring, they put their bodies on the line. There's a lot of unscripted stuff that happens in that ring. And Alexander Wolf messing up his neck on that suplex was unfreaking scripted. Like, you could literally see on the face of the Undisputed Era, they're like, oh crap, did that just happen? This is not how this is supposed to go. They didn't know what to do, and then they had to just figure out to just keep the match going.
It reminded me of Brock.
Oh yeah, when Brock hurt Undertaker, right? Undertaker even says he can't even. Undertaker even says he can't remember how half that match went at the very end after he knocked his. Bro, this was real. Just a reminder that all the damage that their bodies are taking, they practice it, they try their best not to hurt each other, but ish happens, bro. It happens. this match was incredible down to the last moment. I was really surprised that Imperium was left the victor. It was just incredible. It was a great match. This is the match to beat for this weekend, and honestly, I don't expect the Royal Rumble to be better than Worlds Collide. I never expect Raw and SmackDown included to be better than NXT events, especially now that they added both brands. The fans loved all of it. All in all, I think even with the 2-3s, this ends up being like a good B event. There was just some really good. It's just 2 matches fell short, and unfortunately, it was the women's matches because the Rhea Ripley matches. I had high expectations for this match. I really did. I thought it was going to be really good. And the Mia Yim match, I think if she just had a better opponent, I think even if they put her up against Piper Nivens, who was recently fighting for the UK Championship, this match would have been that much better. They just both fell short. One thing to mention, though, that's really irking me, thanks to Impact Wrestling allowing a lady to be their brand's champion, right? And Tessa Blanchard, congrats to her and all that. They are now no longer calling things the Women's Championship in WWE. It's now just the NXT Championship. And I'm like, so wait a second. So now is Rhea Ripley going to fight, Adam Cole, maybe, to unify the title? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd watch that. She's definitely going to lose because he's just going to jump her. But, like, really? It's not wrong to acknowledge that she's the top tier woman. If you want to do intergender wrestling, do it. But don't take the woman thing out the title. This is just going to start confusing people. I'm just saying. All right? So tonight's the Royal Rumble. The pre-show will start around the time that my show ends. And then the real event will start around 7 p.m. So all you wrestling fans, or all you people, I know people who just watched the Royal Rumble. It's literally the longest pay-per-view, so you get your money's worth. And they want to see who walks out the Rumble. They want to see the guest surprises from the people who were wrestling when they were kids and things like that. So if you are someone who just loves the Royal Rumble, 7 p.m., WWE Network, or order through pay-per-view. But it's really cheaper if you just get the WWE Network. Just a heads up. And on that note, we're going to go to our next commercial break. When we come back, the news, and after, the movies. Charles, if you could, take us away.
I know it's been a while now, but I'm dreaming and thinking about you, yeah. I'm waiting for the weekend to see you. I'm hoping maybe you'll come through and ease your mind. I wanna love you through and through, yeah. Turn your lights down low and make a move. If you're throwing it down now, you could get down now, right now, right now. You know that I want you. I'll do what I can to get to know you. So can you tell me, baby? Can you show me the way to give you? Can you show me the place to make you? 'Cause I don't have much longer in me, but I'm waiting for you to show me naturally. Show me the way to love you right now. You all up in my bed now, rolling around like, can you stay till the morning? You can put your walls down. You don't need to hurt anymore, so just ease your mind. I wanna love you through and through, yeah, yeah, yeah. Lights down low and make a move. And if you're throwing it down now, you could get down now. with me, but I'm waiting for you to show me naturally. Show me, show me, show me the way to love you right now.
Alright, so we're back. Several things happening right now in the world, so gonna get to a couple things. First in tech, there are these robot dogs called Spots that are essentially robot dogs that can do a bunch of these different tasks, including opening doors, which I think is an interesting one. And a lot of businesses have been using them to take care of some of their menial needs and assisting in work. Different from tech industry to construction to even simple finance jobs. So a lot of these things have been proven successful, and it seems that they're about to make this more compatible for more industries with a new update. So we're gonna start seeing people and their robot dogs really becoming a thing. They're saying, and of course the Terminator joke is that they're actually, robots right now are only at the point where AI can be used to assist humans, not take over yet. So, I guess if you people really love your dogs, you might as well have one that can also make you coffee, right? There you go. But in the world of tech as well, Hyundai. I feel like I have to say that so that way you don't confuse it with Honda. But these guys have created a noise-canceling vehicle, and you're like, oh, but that's already been done. It's like, no. Most companies that do noise canceling are really trying to muffle the sound of the engine, right? These guys are trying to cancel out even your wheels making noises as they shift, from lane to lane type of a deal, or when they're from one surface to another. So they've created some sort of technology where it kind of readjusts the audio mathematics and some of the soundproofing systems as you're driving at instantaneous speeds to cancel out all those sounds. So when you're driving, all you hear is whatever's inside the car, which I think is pretty dope. And for certain people, necessary, because you just get annoyed by the slightest little thing that's not what you want. Like sometimes when you hear the stuff, you're playing music in your headphones, but your headphones aren't too loud, so you can hear the stuff in the train, and you're just like, ugh, I don't even want to hear that. Yeah. So yeah, if you're like me, that's awesome. Some stuff that's happening here is the governor wants to legalize e-bikes and scooters, which, in New York City is kind of like, well, aren't they already? Because everybody has them, but no. I remember when people were riding around on that, what do they call that thing? The two-wheel thing that everybody was riding for a while. You stand on it and it kind of just rolls for you.
Oh, it looked like a scooter?
Yeah, that sort of, I forget what that thing was called, because I have feet and I use them.
Yeah.
But when people were riding that around, the cops would stop you because those things used to catch on fire all the time. So I think that now that they figured out, the hoverboard, there we go. So when they started fixing stuff like that, and now that I think they got rid of most of the major bugs, the state had to ban them at one point because they were dangerous. I think now they realize that most of those tech issues are taken care of, stuff that happens over generations of tech. So, now they can legalize it so people don't get these fines anymore. So that's something. That's the hubbub to talk about.
My delivery guy uses it.
All over the city, people use it, but they're not legally supposed to. It's like marijuana.
But they bikes. They're regular bikes.
But can catch fire. They're not regular bikes. They can catch
you put a motor, now they become a motorcycle.
Fair enough. Then a couple of things happening on the national level. So there's going to be a black news channel, BNC, coming out of Tallahassee starting February 10th, 2020, to which I was kind of like, okay, cool, but I don't think I'm going to watch because Ollie Williams won't be there. If y'all don't know who Ollie Williams is, watch Family Guy. Best weatherman ever.
They got a white guy there.
I know. It's like Tyler Perry movie. They just need one.
They just need one.
Yeah, you always have to have a token whitey or a token blackie. One or the other, depending on who the majority of the cast is. one of my favorite stories this particular week is that a man had the cops called on him at a bank because they thought he was trying to bring in a fraudulent check. Now, the best thing about this is this guy's name is Santori Thomas, right? If you're familiar with the name, it's because there was a discrimination case that he filed, a lawsuit that he filed, and it turns out, hey, he won. So after winning his paycheck or his check from this lawsuit, he went to go to TCF Bank, and then they would not cash him his check because they thought it was fake. According to the bank,
In Detroit?
when they in Detroit, as they tried to process this this check, their system just wouldn't allow it. So they thought it must be fraudulent because their system wouldn't allow it. So they called the cops because they thought this was a case of fraud. A man who just recently had a whole problem with the cops in the city can't even cash the check that he was given for having said problem with the cops in the city, and now they're coming to start a new one. Now, by the end of things, the cops did not arrest him or whatever, and the check was proven not to be fake when he went and cashed it at Chase. But, like, literally 2 hours after all this, he went to cash it at Chase, and he had it. But the best part about this is that Mr. Thomas had been with the bank for 2 years prior to this incident. So the man's money's been good. And in true Negro fashion, as soon as he could cash his check, he bought a new car. So, you know. Right? Yeah, exactly. But I think he did it because he knows he has another discriminatory victory headed his way, because TCF Bank, you're a bunch of jerks. Freaking jerks. Alright. And then, last but not least in national news, we have, I guess, a conclusion to a story from 2017. So there was a man who brought multiple weapons into the Phoenix Comic-Con a few years back, and essentially they finally decided to give him 11 years, but in a mental facility. He was found to be guilty, but insane. So he went there to attack a bunch of people, one of which was actually Jason David Frank, the Green Power Ranger. So after all that, 11 years, and Jason David Frank says it's a great conclusion. Hopefully he gets the help that he deserves. All right, but so that's the end of that chapter, and I only mention it because I originally spoke about the case in 2017. Now, on our grand scale, on our global level, first and foremost, Gongi Fachoy, Gongi Fasai. The year of the rat started yesterday, so Happy New Year for everyone who isn't a rat, because the year of your animal is normally not that great for you. So all you 6'9" folk, all you snitches and rats, enjoy yourself this year. Then we also have a bit of funny news on the global scale. The person voted the bravest athlete in history by Outsports, right? In publication, popular if you follow sports news, is that transgender MMA fighter who broke 2 women's skulls. Their reasoning being that she fought her way through all the trials and tribulations of discrimination to achieve her goals as a top female fighter. So someone like Jackie Robinson, who did the exact same thing in his own gender, where everyone was actually physically at his level, would not be the best athlete of all time. Same amount of discrimination, but a much more fair level of competition. Alright. Not to say there aren't countless others who've done the same damn thing, but,
Is it fair?
yeah.
She's still a man.
She is a she, according to the law.
According to her DNA and her power.
According to the fact that she went through puberty as a male. Now, this is where I have to be very specific. If you are someone who started your transitioning process before you hit full-fledged puberty, where they have stuff to literally start changing your gender then, or reduce the stuff that your body's pumping one way, okay, I'll give you that, because your body developed more so as a female through the majority of your developing life. This was a grown man who later became a woman and then started fighting women. I'm not going to get deeper than that.
And you say domestic violence in disguise?
I could, but I won't because I have a microphone. But, yeah. Yeah. My only thing is literally everyone else who did the exact same thing in a much more fair, competitive field. We're not talking about someone who became transgendered and got into even like aero gymnastics or the ribbon thing or aqua. We're talking about physically beating the crap out of somebody. A physical advantage, muscular, it's really advantageous. And it got to the point where she gripped someone's head and kneed them and broke their skull, and somebody else got a concussion and a fracture. And I'm not trying to hate on the T, but in this case, Outsports, what's wrong with you? This is literally laughable that you wrote this. This is you trying desperately to get brownie points, bro. Desperately.
Did she lose against Ronda Rousey?
No. Never even.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey beat her, right?
I don't even. They never
they
fought.
I know they were.
There was both. Yeah, but I don't think it ever happened. And then sorry, I really like that story. It's really stupid. But also you have that new China virus that everyone's talking about, right? And according to the I love it because it's WHO, the World Health Organization, WHO. It's not an epidemic yet. It's just, it's not that big yet. It's just a thing. So, although everyone literally is freaking out about, first off, I know we haven't had a U.S. case nowhere near New York right now. You know what I'm saying? But people are talking about it like crazy, like, yo, we all about to get it. This is about to be Ebola all over again. I don't even remember that many people getting Ebola here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was never that big. So, maybe the WHO knows what they're talking about. And not the rock band, but the other WHO. So, something to think about. But some stuff in media that I want to talk about real quick. So Netflix is making a couple of new remakes. So first one that kind of got me a little meh is that they're doing a CGI version of the Pokemon first movie, right? The Mewtwo Strikes Back or whatever that thing was. I don't know how I feel about that because it's going to be the CGI animation. I feel like that's not going to be as emotional of a moment as when Pikachu cried over Ash's own body. But, maybe that's just me being too sentimental. Then the other one is that they're talking about doing a remake for Kung Fu, which was something that made David Carradine like a star. And a lot of people are just like, hey, we like this idea. But can we get an Asian guy this time? Because the original Kung Fu, Bruce Lee lost the spot out to David Carradine. And after Quentin Tarantino, who might be on this Kung Fu project, just portrayed Bruce Lee as kind of an arrogant a-hole who got his butt served to him, a lot of people are just kind of like, hey, can we get someone to actually, show Bruce Lee some love because he actually was dope. So, just a couple of things there. Honestly, I don't care how they make it. It was an entertaining show back in the day. I would love to see a remake of it as a movie now. So, however that works out, especially if Tarantino can be a part of the project, with Kill Bill being amazing, and Kill Bill 3 possibly being in the works, I'm with it, in all ways, shapes, and form. But last but not least, this is the big media news of the week, before we get to my reviews. Orlando Brown, Eddie from That's So Raven, now, see, because I know some people don't know him by name, but yes, because even Charles started laughing, has said and stated in a hilarious video that he has received oral sex from Nick Cannon. I think the part that makes this story so funny is that a lot of people find this to be believable. Mostly because Nickelodeon is constantly on its knees to Disney. And on that note, we're going to our last commercial break, and we will be back with the fans of the week and the movie of the week. Yes, I went.
Are you an independent artist? Well, have it played on the #1 independent radio station, the LBN Radio.
Alright, so we're back. And okay. We're gonna start with our fans of the week. So first we have Silly Sadiddy. Got that one? Yes. I did not pick the name, I'm just reading it. She's really cute, isn't she? Walpy, no. No, Walpy, no. No. Down, boy, down. Probably, right? But yeah, so shout out to you. Songboy 3, my boy Frank Carter, being as frank as he can be. Play on words there, hopefully you got it. But seriously, like, that's really him in his truest form, just being super silly, geeky, you know, like, dad. Next from Texas, Faith Brown. Which, you know, finally, I was calling you guys out. America was calling you out. You kept losing to New Zealand. American won this week. And TJ Greenway. I don't know where he's from, but something about saying it this way sounds quite about right. So shout out to y'all, my 4 fans of the week. Thank y'all very much for being active on the social media. And then picture of the week is pretty much a reminder that on February 26th, yes, it's an actual date, storm the Vatican. Area 51 didn't work out quite well, but storm the Vatican because of all the secrets that are in there in every movie and TV show. And anybody got a passport? That just seems like a lot of work. But yeah, so now they're doing another raid. I don't see them getting in at all, but you know, if you're, you know what they say, when in Rome, right? In this case, when literally in Rome. Yeah, storm the Vatican, February 26th. There you go. The FBI won't stop you this time. It's not their secrets. They don't really care. All right. Now to get to these movies right quick. So first thing first, The Turning is a movie that came out. It's a remake of a book. Essentially, they put a new twist on it. The ending of this movie will leave you asking, what the hell did you just watch? However, there's a lot of entertaining moments, typical jump scare. A couple things not explained because they didn't want to dive too deep into the book. And if you know anything about the book, it gets about kids being possessed and their brother and sister, but they got a thing for each other because they're possessed by ghosts who had things for each other. So, you know, this movie didn't want to touch on that in the age of R. Kelly. So, yeah, the ending's going to leave you like, what the hell? Anyway, 3 out of 5. And it would have probably been worse, but I had somebody break down some of the stuff for me because they read the book. So, thank you. You know who you are.
Looks a little creepy, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounded like if they did the book, it would have been awesome, but you can't do that with this too sensitive millennial audience. So they found a way around it, made it interesting, and I mean, I'm not going to tell you to go see it, but when it hits Netflix, you know, you can click that play button. The other movie, The Gentleman. This movie had a really slow start, but it's a gangster movie. It's a British movie. It has great grime. This movie, if not for the slow start, would have been a perfect score. I gotta give this movie a 4 out of 5. The only possible flaws in it is just kind of, like I said, the pacing. And a lot of number crunching that's verbally said that you can kind of lose track of, so you might just get like, But all in all, once this movie gets going, it's really good. You have excellent performances from a lot of the lead actors. Even some of the side characters are funny. And I would just recommend you to go to the theater and watch. This is definitely worth paying for it. And I wouldn't be surprised if around the same time next year we hear some Oscar buzz about this in some way, shape, or form. And in all honesty, it was actually, like, I feel it's something that the average person can like and the movie snob can like, which means that it's award worthy, like The Joker. Maybe not as good, but still good. On Netflix, you have a new series coming out that's called October Faction. I binged it. It's a very weird show. It feels like a slightly watered down season 3 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where there's like those army people who hunt monsters. That's essentially this entire show, but it gets really good. The some of the twists are a little bit like, oh yeah, I think I figured that out the last episode, but all in all, it's entertaining. Female cast, very attractive, and the action is solid. The action is really solid. The acting isn't necessarily top tier, but probably better than what you watch on CW, and you'll enjoy just the pure comedy moments that are in this. And yeah, there are comedy moments. Really shouldn't have it, but it works. Like I said, season 3, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Trust me on that. Another movie I caught was a movie called Submission. I'm just going to give you the score of a 3 out of 5 from the first place. It's the story of a Marine who makes it out of a really bad situation with one of his partners. The both of them were tortured during their last mission, and one of them is really sick from some of the stuff that happened to him while they were away. The drug that he needs, of course, is highly expensive, and the VA doesn't have it. So his friend, who has one talent and one talent only besides getting high, is a good fighter. He was one of the top Marines on this special elite team, and so he decides to get into the underground world of MMA to win the money necessary to, get his brother his medicine. It's very simple of a plot once you get into it. Very corny how it begins. The whole point of it, as you're watching it, doesn't make much sense till like midway through the movie because the pacing is so slow. But the fight sequences are good. This is definitely a C movie, B movie kind of acting, but you're not really watching it to see greatness. You just want to kind of wait for the points where they get in the ring or when they're starting to fight, and those moments are worth it. So I give it the 3 out of 5 because it's everything that you expect of it, being something that never made it to theaters on Netflix. Last but not least, you have to go to Hulu for some trashy TV, and the trashiest of it all lately for me has been Love Island. So I've been watching the current season of UK, season 6, and where we're at so far, that's a worth binge-worthiness note. I gotta give it a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, you connect with some of the characters, you're happy with some of the relationship, there's just enough drama to make it worthwhile. But all in all, I'm still waiting for that season-sparking moment. Hasn't happened yet. And on the other end, there's all of season 1 of Love Island Australia. 30 episodes for you to get into. I gotta give the season a 3 out of 5. Their casting of women was less than impressive, knowing how beautiful Australian women can be. However, the drama is crazy, and the ending, considering where they started, will surprise you. I will say watch it, but only if you are someone who needs something a little more Fox than The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. On that note, I'm Will D. This has been another week of Will's Review, and we will catch you guys next time.
Excuse me, I'm next in line. Move. Excuse me, I'm next in line. Watch out.